This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
It is California Chrome on the outside. Samrat runs at him with the 8-pole. California Chrome is pulling away. California Chrome into the final furlong. He's got a 5-length lead on his competition. It is California Chrome in front. And from the back of the pack on the outside, Commanding Curve is taken second. But California Chrome shines bright in the Kentucky Derby.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Down the Stretch. I'm Mark Casano. On this morning's show, we will salute the Eclipse winners of 2014 and examine the vote totals, which include a few bizarre ones. We will take a look at a trio of 3-year-old stakes to the internal breaks, and we will welcome in 3 very special guests. All gentlemen with runners in stakes at Gulfstream today. First, Mr. Michael Tomlinson, who's got Barbados in the Hutcheson. He will be followed by Rick Violette, who's got Upstart for the Holy Bull. And finally, Mr. Kiaran McLaughlin, who has Frosted going from the rail in the Holy Bull. So all of that and much, much more if you stay with us for this, our January 24th edition of the program, which is being sponsored by Gulfstream Park, which features 5 stakes races on this Saturday card. Gulfstream Park champions start here. Good morning once again on this snowy Saturday here in the great Northeast. Unfortunately, Aqueduct has canceled this afternoon, as has Laurel, but there is some wonderful racing this afternoon from, in particular, South Florida as well as Southern California. So you'll be able to settle in, relax, and watch all the action live this afternoon right here on Capital OTB. All right, last Saturday evening at Gulfstream Park, the Eclipse Awards, and we are about to salute the champions of 2014, beginning with the 2014 Horse of the Year, California Chrome. The Derby and Preakness hero received 143 votes. Main Sequence finished second with 53. Bayern was third with 36. Shared Belief got 12. The Filly Untappable 11. And Wise Dan, the 2-time defending Horse of the Year, received 6. Inexplicably, Adelaide, who won only the Secretariat Stakes in North America, and Take Charge Brandy each received 1 vote for Horse of the Year. Now, the divisional champions, the 2-year-olds from Male American Pharoah. It's not easy to win this division without winning the Breeders' Cup, but American Pharoah outpolled Breeders' Cup juvenile winner Texas Red 126 to 111. The filly champ, Breeders' Cup juvenile fillies heroine Take Charge Brandy, who on the morning of November 1st looked like anything but a champion. But after winning her last 3 races of the year, she easily captured the award with 236 votes. Juvenile Fillies Turf winner Lady Eli was second with 23. The 3-year-olds, the champion male, of course, California Chrome, easily over Bayern by a count of 193 to 56. Shared Belief was the only other 3-year-old male to receive votes. He got 15. The 3-year-old filly champ, of course, was Untappable. Unbeaten versus her own sex, Untappable was a unanimous selection, getting all 265 votes. The first unanimous selection since Blame swept Older Male back in 2010. Remember, not even the Great Zenyatta was a unanimous selection. The champion older horses, Older Male went to turf specialist Main Sequence, who edged Palace Malice by a count of 127 to 103, while champion older female went to close hatches. Despite her terrible final 2 races, the Spinster and the Breeders' Cup Distaff, close hatches easily won this division with 155 votes. Turf Specialist Day at the Spa was second with 64, and Don't Tell Sophia, the runner-up in the Distaff, was third with 19. The turf divisions. The male turf champion, Main Sequence, in a romp, he received 243 votes to Wise Dan's 18. Finishing third in this category was California Chrome. 2 voters felt that his lone turf victory versus Suspect Company in the Hollywood Derby was worthy of a vote over Main Sequence and Wise Dan. Welcome to the Twilight Zone. The female turf champion, the New York bred Day at the Spa. In a wide open division which was desperate for a winner, Day at the Spa ran the race of her life in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf and garnered 260 of the 265 votes. The champion sprinters of 2014 also won Breeders' Cup races. The male, Work All Week, who defeated a very good field in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He received 184 votes to easily best dirt mile winner Golden Sense, who got 52. New York-based Palace finished third with 12, while Private Zone was next with 11. There was a rather unusual vote in this division for Secret Circle. Now, please don't get me wrong. Secret Circle is a very nice sprinter who was second in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, but he didn't win a single race all year. I would think it would be somewhat difficult to vote for a horse who was winless as a champion. The champion female sprinter, Judy the Beauty, who gamely held on to win the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. She dominated this category with 261 votes. There were a trio of rather bizarre votes in this division. Living the Life, who I believe was last in the Filly and Mare Sprint, received a vote for champion, as did the very nice New York-bred La Verdad and Grade 2 winner, Awesome Baby. The final equine category, champion steeplechaser Demonstrative, who romped over his main rival, Divine Fortune, by a count of 206 to 12. Congratulations to all of the equine champions of 2014. Interestingly, Sire City Zip sired 2 champions. He sired the female turf champion Day at the Spa, and he sired the male sprinter in Work All Week. Now, on the human side, the outstanding trainer of 2014, Todd Pletcher, for a record 7th time. Pletcher amassed $22.5 million in earnings, 40 graded stakes victories, and beat Chad Brown by a count of 100 to 64. Art Sherman finished third with 45. Bob Baffert got 20 votes, Graham Motion 13, and Jerry Hollendorfer received 11. The outstanding jockey of the year, Javier Castellano, for the 2nd year in a row. Castellanos' mounts earned $25 million, 30 graded stakes, and he won 9 grade 1s. I'm not positive of this, but I think the 9 grade 1s may have come with 9 different horses. And congratulations to his agent, Matt Musiker, a local young man. Great job. Castellano romped in this category with 203 votes. Johnny Velasquez was second with 34, while Joel Rosario and Mike Smith each received 8. Victor Espinoza, who rode Horse of the Year and champion 3-year-old California Chrome to 2/3 of the Triple Crown, won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies with champion Take Charge Brandy, and also rode a 3rd champion in American Pharaoh, got only 4 votes. Not much love for Victor, even from the West Coast. The outstanding apprentice jockey, Drayden Van Dyke. He led all apprentices in races won and money earned. The Southern California apprentice received 225 votes and won easily over the late Juan Saez, who received 11. And finally, the awards for both Outstanding Owner and Breeder went to Ken and Sarah Ramsey. The Ramseys won both of these honors for the second straight year. And the Owner Eclipse was their fourth, which equals a record. And as Ken Ramsey said, their tremendous success is due to one horse, Kitten's Joy, their remarkable sire. So congratulations to the Ramseys, to Todd Pletcher, to Javier Castellano, and Drayden Van Dyke for those wonderful honors. Now, on last week's show, we predicted the 12 equine Eclipse categories. And the reason I brought this back is basically in case any of my old teachers or old professors are watching. Because unlike when I was in school, I got a 100, having gone 12 for 12, and I can tell you folks, many of my former teachers and professors would absolutely not believe that Mark Cassano could get a 100 on any test. So, now, on to some news. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo may extend the state's control over the New York Racing Association beyond its original deadline, in a reversal of his initial position, which was to return control to a private corporation at the end of October of this year. The governor may propose an additional year of state control. It is believed the NYRA showed a profit in 2014 for the first time in more than a decade. Peter Walder is one of the sharpest claiming trainers in South Florida. Walder routinely moves horses up off the claim, but even he may have outdone himself with Senor Quiscayano. Walder claimed the 5-year-old for $62,500 on December 21st and proceeded to get out on that investment in his very first start for his new connections, the Sunshine Millions Classic. He is #1 in front here, turning for home. He upset the $250,000 race last Saturday at Gulfstream as he held off #2 East Hall, who got a wide trip, by a half length to post the 20-1 upset. A winner only once in 2014, that coming at the former Calder in the slop, Senor Quiscayano earned $153,450 for his win in here. Not bad for a $62,500 investment just a month ago. By the way, Wildcat Red, who finished 5th in the Classic as the 17-10 second choice, suffered a back injury, and he will be sidelined for a bit. All right, we are up to our first break on this January 24th edition of the program. When we return, we will welcome in Mr. Michael Tomlinson. As we go to the break, the LeCompte at the fairgrounds. The slight favorite at 3-1, number 11 Eagle, from a difficult post. So we will take a look at the LeCompte to the break. Back with Michael Tomlinson right after these messages.
And they're off in the LeCompte Stakes. 'Tis Now RJ broke real sweet there for Robbie Alvarado. Another lemon drop, Hero of Humor. Long odds being sent on up and after 'Tis Now RJ at the first turn. It's 'Tis Now RJ in front, challenged in earnest by Hero of Humor, who's taking it strong to 'Tis Now RJ as they go to the back of the track. Then another lemon drop, a settled third there for Calvin Burrell, racing in front of on the outside. Run Happy now in 4th at the 5.5. For the inside, International Star is 5th, War Story in 6th, Four Leaf Chief in 7th. Eagle is a wide 8th, 4 wide Eagle going up the back. A big break back there to Savoy Stomp in front of Decker Breast, and out wide, Killing It is dropped back to 11th. The quarter in 23 3/5 seconds. They have a half mile to go. And now a move by Run Happy to take over from Hero of Humor. 'Tis Now RJ 3rd. Another lemon drop is 4th. Half mile in 47 seconds flat. 3 furlongs to go. And Hero of Humor has once again taken the lead. Hero of Humor in front from Run Happy. Another lemon drop rides the rail as they come toward the quarter pole. 'Tis Now RJ and War Story is gaining traction. Eagles closing in 2. International Star and Savoy Stomp on the far outside. They're into the stretch, 3/4. 1 minute 13 and 1/5 seconds. Here comes War Story. War Story and 'Tis Now RJ for the final furlong. International Star switched out and charging. Another lemon drop is fourth. Past the 16th. Coming over the top is International Star for Miguel Mena. The Lecomte 2 International Star. War Story edged out 'Tis Now RJ for second. Another lemon drop. Finish fourth.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
There's nothing like the thrill and excitement of horse racing. And now, the new home for all the best racing and all the top tracks is OTB TV on Time Warner Cable Channel 1250, delivering each day the best racing across the country and around the world, whether it's Saratoga or Belmont here in New York, Florida's Gulfstream Park, or California's Del Mar and Santa Anita race courses. No other network brings you the grandeur of horse racing like OTB TV on Time Warner Cable Channel 1250.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Hutcheson, an international star for Mike Maker and Miguel Mena. Despite traffic trouble in the lane, rolls to a 2.5 length score over War Story and 'Tis Now RJ. Favored Eagle came up empty in the lane and finishing 7th. A major step backwards for that colt. 143.62 was actually 0.4 of a second slower than Ama Chatterbox ran in winning the Silver Bullet Day. Our first guest this morning has a very nice 3-year-old by the name of Barbados, stretching out a furlong later on this afternoon for the Hutcheson at Gulfstream Park. We welcome to Down the Stretch live via telephone, Mr. Michael Tomlinson. Mike, Mark Hutcheson welcoming you to the show.
Well, thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
Well, it's awfully nice to have you, Mike. Let's talk Barbados. He was trained by Kellen Gorder for his first 3 starts, all as a 2-year-old. When did you get him?
In August, my owner put me on a search for a nice young horse, and in November, we located this colt at the sale, just like a lot of people did, but we purchased him at the November Keeneland sale through the WinStar dispersal of horses of racing age.
$340,000 for him. That's a pretty good piece of change. What impressed you so much about him?
Well, it was very, very well balanced young horse. Mentally, he acted like he was very mature. His x-rays, his scope, everything about him was just impeccable. And I called Paul and Suzanne and told them that we located the horse and that we should be prepared to buy. And so everything moved forward and went smooth, and feel very fortunate to have him.
Mike, in a moment, we're going to have a shot of him on the screen for our audience. Would you take a moment? You've already talked about him mentally, but take a moment to describe him physically for our audience. What's he like?
Well, he's a muscular, very handsome colt. His physical, makeup makes you think more sprinter than route. He is just so intelligent, so balanced and correct that, he's just a colt that when you look at him, it makes you smile. The old saying about there's something about the outside of a horse that makes the inside of a man feel good, yeah. and this horse is a perfect example of that.
Well, you and the new owners had to feel awfully good because the spectacular bid was his first start for you guys. We're about to take a look at it with our audience. Barbados is number 9 in here. Mike, talk about this performance, if you would.
Well, the colt at Keeneland, when he broke his maiden, had shown the ability to lay off the pace, and we talked to Luis and told him, said, look, just there's plenty of speed in here. The colt will break sharp. Just let him sit and relax, and just let him be comfortable wherever he wants to be. And Luis rode an impeccable race, just let the speed go on, and turning for home, he just eased him out a little bit, and when he pushed the button, he just really responded and finished nicely and come on home and went right on by the 2 leaders and showed the ability to carry his speed. Now, how far, we're not exactly sure, but we're going to take a step at a time here, and we'll see just how far he takes it.
Mike, Barbados had a nice, sharp 5-furlong work leading into the spectacular bid. Were you confident that he was going to run well this day?
I was very confident that he would run well. Anytime it's the first time for a trainer running the horse, you always, at least I do, every once in a while you catch yourself second guessing your training regime and how you brought him into the race, and I was a little worried about how tight he was because of we let him work real easy the first several works, and then when we asked him to work a little bit, when you saw the 59 and change work, he just absolutely just did that in fine fashion, and so it made us feel a lot better. We thought we were ready to run, and I knew he'd run a good race, but you just always wonder how good they are, and on that day, he proved to be a very nice colt.
Now, Mike, the only workout he's had since the spectacular bid was a very easy 3 furlongs in 38 and change this past Tuesday. Now, is that by design? Is everything okay?
Everything is absolutely great with the colt. He's doing great. He gallops 1.5 miles to 1.75 miles each day, and I do a little differently than some guys. I do know this colt is fit, and all I wanted to do was pump a little air in him. We went 38 and galloped out in 51, and let him gallop on out another 8 and 13. So we just opened his lungs up and got him prepared, and he's sharp and ready to go, and we're looking for another good performance.
It is human nature that most everyone, owner, trainer with a good 3-year-old at this time of year, dreams about the Kentucky Derby. What are you and the owners, how are you viewing Barbados at this point?
Well, as I said earlier, we all have those dreams. I've been there once, and unfortunately my horse got hurt the week prior to the Derby. It's why we are all in this game, the dreams of being on the big stage, and we're approaching this colt, and it's just about anyone would, I think, is we're going to take it a step at a time. Our hopes are to get there, but I'm not going to take this horse out of the game plan. We need to give him the opportunity to show us, because if I'm not going to run this horse trying to get to the Derby. We're going to let him take us if we can get there, and if we make it, fantastic. If not, we've got a nice horse for down the road.
Well, Mike, first of all, congratulations on winning the spectacular bid, and all the best with Barbados in this afternoon's Hutcheson, and we thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate the call, and hopefully Barbados will show up for all his fans this afternoon.
Let's hope so. Thank you, Mike. Mike Tomlinson, ladies and gentlemen, the trainer of Barbados, and we are up to our next break. When we return, Mr. Rick Violette will join us as we go to the break. The Smarty Jones for 3-year-olds last Monday at Oaklawn, and the 11-10 favorite, number 3, Mr. Z, who was pretty washy going to the post. So we will take a look at the Smarty Jones to the break. Back with Rick Violette right after these messages.
And they're off in the Smarty Jones. An American Sailor darts right out to the front. Mr. Z has some early speed. Bayard moves up third. Lucky Player fourth. Runaway Bling rushes up on the outside. Private Prospect is sixth through the opening furlong. Paid Admission, Hebronville, far right will have to pass them all. 8 lengths covers the field around the first turn. American Sailor is the leader by a half length, with Mr. Z up alongside second. Runaway Bling third. Bayard just inside of him fourth. Then comes Lucky Player fifth, about 6 lengths off the pace. Private Prospect is next. 3 clear of Paid Admission, Hebronville, and far right inches up inside of him. American Sailor and Mr. Z 1-2 down the backstretch, with Runaway Bling a length and a half back third. Bayard has to get a little bit closer in fourth. Lucky Player on the fence fifth, with Private Prospect just outside of him. That pair 5 off the lead with 3 furlongs to run. Far right, Paid Admission, Hebronville at the back. American Sailor has been there every step of the way, shaded by Mr. Z. These two starting to separate. Bayard clearly into third. Runaway Bling losing ground around the far turn. Private Prospect moves up to be clearly fourth. Far right moving up in traffic, top of the stretch, and Mr. Z makes his move, gets a reminder from John Court. American Sailor back to second. 4 back to Bayard third. Mr. Z, very erratic, but he's in control. He's in front by 4 lengths. Far right is coming with a nice rally on the inside. He's storming home. Mr. Z is in the middle of nowhere as far right comes to get the lead and the win in the Smarty Jones. Bayard gets second. Mr. Z erratic in a photo with Private Prospect for third. Far right storms to victory.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Hutcheson. My thanks to Mike Tomlinson once again for having joined us. And far right, off a troubled third in the Delta Jackpot, awaits room, then rallies along the rail to win the Smarty Jones for Ron Moquette and Hall of Famer Mike Smith. Bayard, that's with a D on the end, not an N, finished second, while Mr. Z veered out sharply in the lane to finish third. Far right may await the March 14th Rebel. Our next guest, well, it was about a year ago. He was gearing up Samrod for his successful 3-year-old debut. Today, it's Upstart who begins his quest for the first Saturday in May in the Holy Bullet Gulfstream. We welcome in live via telephone Mr. Rick Violette. Rick, Mark Hutcheson welcoming you back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Nice to have you as always. Rick, before we get to Upstart, how about an update on Samrod? We haven't seen him on the racetrack since the Belmont Stakes. What's going on with him?
Well, we had to give him an extended layoff. He did have a hairline fracture in a cannon bone, and we had to drill a number of holes in there to stimulate the regrowth. And he's training great. We're still kind of in the ramp-up stage. We had one little breeze, and we kind of just test drive it now and again. But we're still a ways away from him showing up in the afternoon, but he's doing great.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear because, I feel that his 3-year-old campaign and even his races in the Triple Crown, the 5th in the Derby and 6th in the Belmont, were actually better than most people feel.
Yeah, they were both pretty good races, particularly the Belmont. It was an eventful day that day, and we could have been a little closer, I believe.
All right, we are about to take a look at a piece of Upstart's maiden victory on a warm summer day at Saratoga. As we pick it up, he will be number 2, 4th on the fence for our audience. Rick, talk to us about how he had trained up to his debut and the 2 races he ran at the Spa last summer?
He showed some talent right away. He was very likable at the farm before he arrived, and he did nothing to disappoint. It wasn't necessarily show off in the morning. He didn't break stopwatches, but he certainly did everything that you asked of him, and was pretty well prepped. I mean, he'd schooled well behind horses and got dirt in his face, and he was, he was pretty tuned in to what the rider would ask him to do. So I loved him first time out, there's no question. Second start, we ran him back quickly, and that was, I think, a pretty amazing performance. He was in a pull-out drive from a 3/8 pole home with loose on the lead. Really nice horse. And we ran him down. I thought that day you went, ooh, might be the real deal.
Rick, in a moment, we're going to have a shot of Upstart on the screen. Take a moment to describe him for our audience from a physical standpoint. What's he look like, and how's he mentally to work with?
Well, he was a bit of a leggy 2-year-old, and he's grown into his body. Now he looks more like a man. He hasn't gotten any taller, but he's filled out and a little bit more muscular. He's kind of a flashy dark bay with a white blaze. Really well balanced, great hip and shoulder. He's temperament-wise, he's a bit of a punk, and that's okay enough to be cocky. He's very, very inquisitive. He notices everything. If there's a plane flying over, he might pick his head up and take a look and see what's going on. So, and that hasn't changed. I think, he seems to be a little bit more professional right now, a little bit more polished, and, we'll find out this afternoon if the talent he showed as a 2-year-old transfers and kind of moves forward as we get into the 3-year-old year.
Well, he went from the restricted races at Saratoga to what I thought was an outstanding second in the Champagne behind a colt who absolutely loves wet tracks. What was your overall feeling on his effort in the Champagne?
Well, it was terrific. We kind of got sawed off leaving there, and then the way the race developed, we were kind of in a serious drive again, a long way from home, about the half-mile pole, and that's an asset of his. He's got a very, very long run. He did it again in the Breeders' Cup. So that day, we were second best. Todd's horse, certainly loved the Daredevil, loved the off-racetrack, and we were certainly better than the rest. And I thought certainly the jump up from New York bred race to Grade 1 was a real success.
Well, following that very fine second in the Champagne, it was on to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. We're about to take a look at it once again for our audience. Upstart, unfortunately, number 13 from the extreme outside post. Rick, talk about this fine performance.
Well, you knew going in we were up against it. You either blasted off and tried to save some ground, or you took back and way back, and we kind of got caught in the middle. We got off a step slow. We were wide both turns, and again, he kind of has to launch early to stay in the race. Throughout the day, the track was significantly speed favoring, even though Texas Red kind of did an Arazi and came from way out of it and ran over the top of everybody. Mapping out a game plan, we thought we had to be pretty much in contention turning home. That if you were trying to make one run from way out of it, the track really wasn't playing that way. So Jose, kind of launched around the turn as was planned, and we looked like we had dead aim on everybody until Texas Red ran by us. And when he ran by us, we bumped, and a lot of horses would kind of put up the surrender sign at that point and kind of galloped home after they'd made a run. And a lot of times when horses go by on the outside, it just takes the wind out of even really good horses' sails. He continued on, and we got beat, last jump half an inch per second. So I thought it was a terrific performance. It certainly wasn't an ideal trip, and once again stamped him that it should be, considered the higher echelon of 3-year-olds.
Rick, would it be fair to say that the post position and or the perceived track bias caused you to have you know, Jose to ride him a bit differently than you might have normally had him ride?
Yeah, you would have loved to have been in a spot going into the first turn where you could sit and save ground at least one of the two turns, and we just never had that option. He got aggressive, you know, to the wire, and then he had to kind of plan him to drop in so he wouldn't be quite in the middle of the racetrack. But as often happens when races also get packed up a little bit, if you're on the outside on one turn, a lot of times you're on the outside the second turn, and that's kind of what happened.
You know, we know as a sprinter, he'll settle and make a run. What do you think is his best running style, at least going a middle distance of ground?
I think really right behind the speed. I don't, especially races like today where that's just the configuration of the race favors speed. It's a short run to the first turn, and we run to the first wire, which makes the stretch very short. You know, I think being right behind the speed is kind of paramount here, unless they go crazy up front and 22-44 type of deal. But and I think, you know, he's got a high cruising speed, and if he lays a little closer, he doesn't have to make such a long run, you know, 3/8 a mile or better. If you're right behind the speed and you can kind of sit chilly, and from the 5/16 pole home, you make your run. I think it makes the run kind of devastating, to be honest with you. And you haven't, you know, have this long grinding move. So I would like to see him kind of well placed behind a couple of the speeds today, and we'll see what happens.
Earlier this month, you appeared to be on the fence about running him in the Holy Bull. I believe you were quoted as saying everything had to go perfectly. So the final decision to run him today, what led to that?
Well, he came to hand pretty quickly. You know, early on, we gave him a solid 4 weeks off after the Breeders' Cup, and sent him down to Palmettos and let him kick his heels up to the Porta Paddock there and bunch of grass. And I just wasn't. You don't know until you try to see how quickly they come to hand, how much fitness they might have lost in the 4 weeks. And it wasn't until he worked 5/8 on, I think it was around the 12th of January. It was a good 5/8 in a minute and change. I thought we had a chance. And then his work last week was just sensational, and it kind of stamped that he was ready. I like the extra 2 weeks, actually. It gives us a little bit of wiggle room moving forward. If we were forced to wait for the winners, you're stuck in that 4 week pattern all the way through the Derby. And this gives us 2 weeks to play with somewhere, whether it's between this race and his next race, or between the Florida Derby and the Kentucky Derby. There's a little wiggle room if he backs out a feed tub, or they always have little bumps and bruises along the way, so gives us a little bit of a cushion.
Rick, I remember when we were talking about Samrat early last year, one of the things that just jumped out at me was that you would work him easy miles, and I don't see that with Upstart. Obviously, they're two totally different horses, but talk about that training technique that you use for Samrat, and I haven't seen that so far with Upstart.
Well, we actually worked him a mile before the Breeders' Cup.
Okay.
It doesn't show up on his form here. There really wasn't a place for it. I didn't work a mile last week, and he wasn't up for it the week before. A little bit of timing. If I basically crossed off the race today, the Holy Bull, and set sights on the Withers, you would have had a mile breeze. You know, we're also not turning the screws to have this his best race of his 3-year-old year. So I would think you might see a mile and 45 somewhere down the road.
Okay. You've also got another stake starter on this wonderful card at Gulfstream this afternoon. You've got Ode to the Hunt in today's Kitten's Joy, the finale at Gulfstream. Tell us a little bit about Ode to the Hunt.
Here's another one with an awful post position that's doing really, really well. I think he's a nice horse. Brought him down here. If he doesn't fit in the stakes company down here, then I think we'll just kind of stall on him and wait to run him back in New York. it's tough to run a New York bred down here for an allowance race with the short money, to be honest with you. And so if he's not competitive at the higher level, then I think we'll wait for the 60,000 better purses up in New York for him. And I think he belongs. He's trained awfully well. He's moved forward off of his maiden breaking release. I do wish we had a little bit of the post position so we could get a true evaluation out of him.
Before we let you go, talk about something rather important here. Recently, the New York Racing Association, in conjunction with the New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association, came up with some new safety protocols. Discuss to our audience the reasons for those new protocols.
Well, it's no secret that we've gone through a very bad run of late since we've started, racing over at Aqueduct for the fall and the winter. And it's not acceptable. There have been too many horses hurt. And, we've done a serious evaluation of the racetrack. We've had the experts come in, more than twice and done all their real kind of state-of-the-art evaluations and haven't seen anything. There's no question, and a lot of horsemen aren't happy with the most controversial rule changes, not being able to run back within 14 days of their last race. And there's some justification for people being upset about it, because universally, looking at the numbers across the country, including thousands of races and thousands of horses, horses running back 7 days or less are actually at less of a risk than horses coming back from an extended layoff of 90 days or better. There are more horses that break down coming off that extended layoff than horses that are in form and fit and running back in 7 days. But there's a big however. 4 of the 13 horses that had fatal accidents were horses running back 11 days or less. And while it gets very dangerous to make assumptions and conclusions off of small numbers, when you were kind of revisiting the nightmare we had in 2012, and when there's a number staring you in the face, and then you're sitting across the table from the Gaming Commission or the Governor's Office or other legislators or even the Executive Committee at NYRA, where they're saying, stupid, you have to look at it, it's right in your face, and you can't ignore it. And there are serious entities out there, individuals that would like to shut the doors and throw away the key. So there's a delicate balance of trying to do everything you can to keep the horses and riders safe. And if it's a little overkill and being a little bit too afraid and reactive, but it's in the interest of saving horses and riders' lives, I'll take the hit. I'm sorry. I just it'll only be for a short period of time. This isn't going to be a year-round thing. It'll probably end up phasing out as we exit the inner track. But we just have to examine all possibilities as to what could be precipitating, these bad runs that we've had. With the medication rules that we've changed, and we've moved, corticosteroids further away from race day, and even lower the fiscal levels of the buttes and the banamines, and taking control of the shockwave treatment, all of this stuff. The frustrating part is that we still are exposed to some really, really unacceptable levels that you have to address. So, believe me, I've been under the gun, and how can we allow people to tell us how to train our horses, and we can't run back? But it's not as simple as that. As you know, we're under a microscope in New York, and there are people, even well-intended individuals, looking to, like I said, close the doors and not tell us when we might open them again, and we certainly can't let that happen. So if it means going a little bit overboard and trying to protect things but keep the doors open, and continue to investigate and try to come up with as a level of safety that's acceptable to everybody, I'm for it. And and it's not like I don't make any policy. I know the numbers, the real numbers, with controlling or evaluating a broad-based group says that this isn't part of the problem. But again, dealing with the lives of horses and riders, I don't think you just have to you make those assumptions. I think you have to do another evaluation.
One final question before we let you go. Your thoughts on the possible extension of the state's control over the New York Racing Association?
It might be a little more much ado about, not necessarily nothing, but apparently there's a gap. This legislation that created the reorganization board sunsets, I believe, in October. And apparently there was some fear that if they didn't get all their ducks in a row and to finalize the reorganization, the end of the reorganization and the new NYRA going through the summer session, and then when the legislators go home, that there was a possibility that this sunset provision, there'd be no NYRA, there'd be nobody running the racetrack. So apparently, things are still full speed ahead to try to get a timely April or sometime before April moving forward to a new NYRA. But this does give them a little bit of a parachute if things aren't done, so that they can continue to address it as the year goes on.
Rick, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. All the best with Upstart and Ode to the Hunt later on today, and we'll look forward to speaking with you again very soon.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Have a great day.
Thanks, Rick. Rick Violette, ladies and gentlemen. We are up to our final break. When we return back to South Florida, where we'll welcome in Mr. Kiaran McLaughlin as we go to the break, the California Derby at Golden Gate Fields, the 2-1 favorite, number 5, Soul Driver. So we'll take a look at the Cal Derby to the break. Back with Kiaran right after these messages.
Bowing from the saddle. Jockey remounting. Racing. Off the inside, cross the line, commences nicely. Stand and Salute off well. Here comes Rye Patch, zooming down the outside, and Midnight Destiny's going with him. So it's Midnight Destiny, Rye Patch, the two leaders. Clear of Cross the Line, and then Stand and Salute, followed 5th by Soul Driver, lobbing into a good spot 5th. Then Sandor the Hound on the inside, 8 lengths off the early pace, and 3 lengths to Broughton Kitten with Steel. Up towards the 3/4 pole, and it's Midnight Destiny, Rye Patch, stride for stride, the pace keen. They've dashed away a half dozen lengths to cross the line. Stand and Salute, Soul Driver, then Sandor the Hound, 4 lengths to Broughton Kitten and Steel on the inside as last of all. 15 lengths covering the field with 5/8 left to go. It's Rye Patch the leader by half a length to Midnight Destiny. 5 lengths to cross the line, shifting off the rail. Soul Driver improving along the inside to 4th. Sandor the Hound is 5th on the inside of Stand and Salute, then a 3 wide Broughton Kitten, and Steel on the inside is 8th and last. Now 9 lengths covering the field. They race into the far turn in the Centennial California Derby. Midnight Destiny regaining parity with Rye Patch, but the pursuing pack is closing in, led by Cross the Line, who's into the 3 path. Soul Driver getting right up on the inside, a close 4th, and then comes Broughton Kitten working into the picture, and Steel running a useful race of splitting horses. Stand and Salute has dropped out second last at the top of the stretch, and Cross the Line charges past Midnight Destiny and Rye Patch. Then comes Soul Driver, followed by Broughton Kitten, Steel, and Stand and Salute now coming down the extreme outskirts. It's Cross the Line clear from Soul Driver, and right around is Stand and Salute, but Cross the Line is holding them at bay. Cross the Line has won from Soul Driver and Stand and Salute, and Broughton Kitten 4th, followed in by Steel, clear of Midnight Destiny, Sandor the Hound, and Rye Patch.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Face it, Most horse racing websites are just too much clutter, too much to navigate through. Next time, log on to CapitalOTB.com. Our newly designed website is easier than ever to use, with all the information the professional horse player needs. CapitalOTB.com.
Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to CapitalOTB.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Hutcheson. My thanks to Rick Violette once again for having joined us and crossed the line. Jerry Hollendorfer won. Hernandez wins the California Derby by a length and 3/4 over Soul Driver and Stand and Salute. Our final guest this morning, a year ago, captured the Holy Bull with Cairo Prince, who had been an unlucky loser of the Remsen. Today he'll try to repeat in the Holy Bull, this year with Frosted, who was an unlucky loser of the Remsen. We welcome in live via telephone from South Florida, Mr. Kiaran McLaughlin. Kiaran, Mark Hutcheson welcoming you back to Down the Stretch.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Nice to have you as always. Kiaran, what is it with you and the Remsen here the last couple of years?
Yeah, they've been two tough seconds, but at least the horses ran very well in the Remsen, and we hope to duplicate last year's Cairo Prince and win in the Holy Bull, although it's a tough race.
Well, let's talk Frosted as our audience takes a look at a piece of his maiden victory back on October 30th at Aqueduct. He is number 1A. As we pick it up, he's second, prompting on the outside. Kiaran, talk about how he trained for you early on and how he progressed up to this maiden win.
Yes, he trained very well early at Saratoga, went off as a big favorite there, and finished second, got beat quite a ways, but he's improved every day in his training. He's always improving, even since the Remsen, but while breaking his maiden, he was improving all the time, and Irad really likes him a lot and understands him, and coming down to ride him today. And he's just a nice horse. He's learning and training better all the time.
In a moment, we are going to have a shot of Frosted on the screen. Would you please take a moment to describe him physically for our audience? What's he look like? And mentally, how is he to work with?
Well, Tappet sometimes mentally can be a little challenging for trainers and jockeys, but he's very good mentally. He's a beautiful horse, big, strong colt with great conformation. Hopefully he gets an opportunity to be a stallion after winning some nice races as a 3-year-old. We're hopeful because he's a beautiful horse and has a great mind, and being by Tappet, he's the best sire in the world right now. So I would say that, he has all the credentials to be a top stallion and a top horse.
Well, here is the Remsen for our audience. Frosted is number 12, the extreme outside post on a day where inside speed was very, very strong. Kiaran, did you have a sense that he might be in a little trouble going into this race the way the track was playing?
Yes, we were definitely concerned about it, and he broke great and got over and saved ground very well from the outside, but it was pretty much a conveyor belt all day, and it was very difficult. I thought we were going to get there, turning for home. It looked like he had a lot of horse, but the rail horse just kept going. Jose and Chad Brown's horse just kept going. So we didn't get by him, but it was a great effort and a long way back to third. So we ran a winning race, but had to settle for second place one.
Kiaran, he made his first 3 starts without Lasix. Used it for the first time here in the Remsen. Why?
Because he bled just a tiny bit in a workout after, before the Remsen. We try to, play by the rules and not just sign him up. So he did have a little bit of blood in a workout, so we signed him up.
You have gone from the extreme outside post here in the Remsen to drawing the rail today in the Holy Bull. Fairly short run to the first turn. Talk about strategy. Kiaran, does he have the natural tactical speed to protect that inside position early on?
Yes, but, the Bluegrass Singer is pretty fast, and he's just outside of us in the 4 hole, I think, with Javier. and he might try and clear us. And if he does clear us, then I'd rather just have to work out a trip from being off the pace. But if we break sharp and we go into the first turn, we hope we're, first, second, or third anyway. But it's all about schooling and learning for the bigger races down the road. So if we get a little dirt in our face or mud, as it might rain, then we'll just see how it goes. But he's doing great, and we plan on breaking and being forwardly placed.
What future races do you have penciled in for him? Will he stay in Florida for a while?
Yes, we felt like we have 3 or 4 or 5 3-year-olds this year to talk about and try and place, where they would fit the best. And often it's hard to come from well back in Florida, so we thought Frosted was his best chances would be here in Florida, where we penciled in Imperial to go to the fairgrounds on February 21st for the Risen Star, because he comes from well back in a race, and then he could run back in the Louisiana Derby, or we could choose to come north for the Wood Memorial a week later, or the Bluegrass now is April 4th, $1 million. They moved it 4 weeks away from the Derby, so that would suit us also. We have Ocean Knight, who's training great, and we're looking to go to Tampa with him next Saturday for the Sam F. Davis. It's not points race, but if he likes the racetrack and runs well, we can go back to the Tampa Derby March 7th, and it is a 50-point race.
Let me go back to Imperia for a moment. He's a colt who I really liked in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Never had a chance to run the last half mile. But you tried him on dirt in the Kentucky Jockey Club. As we pick it up for our audience, he's number 8, 5th on the bottom of the screen. Just missed in here. Kiaran, what'd you think of this effort?
Well, it was a great effort to try the dirt for the first time, and we happened to try dirt that is very important dirt in Louisville, Kentucky at Churchill Downs, and at least we know he likes Churchill. He ran great. He was a little wide on the turn, closing all the way, just missed winning the race to a very nice horse in El Kabir, who won the Withers. So we're very happy with him, and we're going to have 2 prep racers and on to the Derby, we hope.
And you mentioned Ocean Knight. How about Mothuk, who was a bit disappointing in last? What's going on with him?
Mothuk ran third in the Mucho Macho Man January 3rd here in Florida. He broke from the 9-hole. We thought that was good, but Bluegrass Singer went to the lead on the inside and kept going, and we were afraid, shoot, that might be what the track's about again down here this winter. So he's training on, and I spoke to Rick Nichols with Shadwell yesterday, and we're strongly considering bringing him back to New York for the Withers on February 7th. So he's working here at Palmettos, and we're going to plan on coming to New York for the Withers.
All right, let's wind things up by talking about a trio of first-timers. You've got 2 of them running this weekend at Gulfstream. Today in the 6th race, Wisecracker is a son of Distorted Humor. Tell us about him.
He's trained very well. We look forward to getting him started. He has a lot of ability. Might need a race, tough race. I always think we need another work or 2, but he's trained very well, and he has a future. So if he doesn't win today, follow him because he's talented.
Tomorrow, 8th race, Pinup, a daughter of Tappet out of Cara Raffaella, makes her a half-sister to Bernardini. What about Pinup?
A lot of pressure on the trainer, it sounds like. But he's trained very well. He probably wants further than 6.5 furlongs, but we're anxious to get her started. She's doing everything right, and she's trained very well. So she should run very well. We like her, and obviously she wants further with that pedigree, but a nice filly.
And finally, talk about pressure on a trainer. You've got Jess's Dream, the unraced colt by Curlin out of Rachel Alexandra. Now, Kiaran, I haven't seen a work for him in a while. What's going on with Jess's Dream?
We were working him out of the gate some, and we don't put those works down because we're just kicking out an 1/8 of a mile and this and that. He had a little mucus that we're treating, So hopefully we'll be back on the work tab soon.
Well, Kiaran, thank you for the update on all of those horses. As always, we appreciate your time. Thanks for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch, and all the best later this afternoon with Frosted in the Holy Bull.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you, Kiaran. Kiaran McLaughlin, ladies and gentlemen. All right, time to wrap things up. Time to thank all the folks who helped get this week's very busy show on the air here at the Clubhouse Racebook. Our associate producer, Julie Hoxie, as well as Dan Hayes. Back in the control room in Schenectady, Pat Peretta directed and handled pre-production. Pete Persico on audio. Thanks to this morning's guests, Kiaran McLaughlin, Rick Violette, and Mike Tomlinson. And thanks to our sponsor, Gulfstream Park. Just a terrific card of racing this afternoon with 5 stakes. Gulfstream Park. Champions start here. Wonderful card at Gulfstream. Very nice card at Santa Anita. So enjoy all the racing action from coast to coast here at Capitol. Have a wonderful weekend and a terrific upcoming week. And from all of us here at Down the Stretch, we'll see you next week.